kind of an interesting question, and I'll pose this to you. I live here in Poway, California, 92064, one of the great places here to live. And San Diego County, wonderful place. We have people that visit from out of town, and you want to show them the sights of the city. And what's your list? What's your go-to list? I've compiled my own list here, and I want to share with you what the idea was, what my challenge was, and how we went about it. But before we do, I just want to let you know that we'll take your comments and questions. If you have a comment or question, just type it in the live chat on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. We'll get you involved in our community forum. So let's kick this off with this idea. Now, I have a friend of mine that I haven't seen in like 30 years, and he was coming back to San Diego. Damn, I'm old. And he and I used to work together in Sorrento Mesa back in the early 1990s, and he's from Japan. And he eventually moved back to Japan, married, has adult children, brought one of his daughters back with him, and they were here to go to the Dodger game to go to the Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night because they're big Dodger fans in Japan. And so they had a bunch of things they were doing up in LA, Hollywood and Disneyland and that sort of thing. But they came down to San Diego for a half day. And my buddy wanted to show his daughter where he used to live and where their office was. And they were going to hook up with me, and I was just going to show them around. And I had a half a day. And they got into town like about noon. We wanted to schedule a dinner where we could see a sunset. And then they could be on their way after dinner to go back up to LA and to continue on with their trip. And you're thinking, okay, I got a half a day. What can I cram into this San Diego kind of half day tourist list? And I came up with this Blitz schedule, and it actually worked really well. So I'm curious to know if you've ever done such a thing. If you have people from out of town, where do you take them? If you've only got a short window of time, do you try to cram a bunch of stuff into a short amount of time, or do you go and just go to a few spots and really kind of sink in? So here was our deal. I wanted the dinner to be at sunset in North County. So he was on his drive back to LA. And I was thinking, okay, we could do something like in Del Mar, Carlsbad, or something like that. So that means I wanted to start south. And, obviously there's a Hotel Del Coronado, a lot of other places to go. But my buddy is a baseball fan, a big baseball fan. He's Japanese, and he wants to know more about Petco Park because it wasn't here when he lived here in San Diego in the early 90s. And Yu Darvish is a player for the Padres. And so we started out by just driving by Petco Park, went through downtown, got to see that. He hadn't seen all the changes in downtown because, things have radically changed since the early 1990s. And we drove around the stadium, and, you see those banners on the skylights, and we see Yu Darvish and Manny Machado and all the big stars of the team. And that was, for them, was kind of cool. And it was fun for me to share that with them. And the second place we went to, because we were kind of in that neck of the woods, is we went to Seaport Village. And this is obviously a very famous tourist spot there, kind of right adjacent to downtown, right along the bayfront. And that was nice, kind of strolled around, looked at some of the Navy ships, got some ice cream, boom, boom, and we were moving on. Because we only had like about 5 or 6 hours to cram all of this in. So where do we go next? Now, I was planning, my third spot on this was to kind of go out to Point Loma and try to get out to Cabrillo National Monument. But I knew that was probably going to throw a monkey wrench in our schedule and put us behind. So I made a decision not to go there, not to go to Cabrillo National Monument. And our third stop is we went by Mission Beach and get there right by the roller coaster, get on the boardwalk. And I was telling my buddy from Japan, I go, man, your daughter is going to see a cross section of society here on the Mission Beach boardwalk. You're going to see fit people jogging. You're going to see people drunk off their ass. You're going to see total beach partier people. You're going to see tourists. And sure enough, we saw all that, got in kind of that San Diego vibe. That went really well, I thought. But the clock was ticking. And we were trying to think, where else would we go? And so I kept going north. And the next stop we went to was Mount Soledad. And have you ever been to the top of Mount Soledad? I mean, what a fantastic view I mean, you could see Tijuana, you can see the Coronado, not Coronado Island, but the Coronado Islands. They're legitimate islands that are part of Mexico. You can see it from there. Big, expansive view of the Mission Bay, Pacific Beach. And then as you turn your sights northward, you get to see UC San Diego, the Scripps Pier. You can see Del Mar and Torrey Pines Reserve in the distance, and keep wrapping yourself around. You can see the University Town Center, Miramar Air Station. Great views from up there. It was a little bit uncomfortable, though, because I'm bringing along some Japanese folks, and this is a war memorial where a lot of World War II veterans are celebrated, but fortunately, that didn't become a discussion topic while we were there. So we went to Mount Soledad, and then from there, kind of rolled down the hill and went to La Jolla Cove. And we parked there, right? You know that if you kind of come in off Mount Soledad, and you take Torrey Pines, was it Boulevard or Torrey Pines Road, and then peel off like on Prospect. And then you go down that steep, almost cobblestone road to get near La Jolla Cove. You know, you pass the clam where people jump off the cliff. And we parked there, got out of the car, and it smelled horrible because of all the birds and the seals and everything else. But as we kind of worked our way down the hill, we got down to La Jolla Cove, and it was great. I mean, the seals were out. People were sort of kind of near the seals. But, you know, it's kind of like, you know, going to the zoo to a degree, but it's all natural. Got to, you know, walk along that pathway along the border or along the coastline of La Jolla Cove, worked our way over to Children's Pool. There weren't a lot of sea lions out there. They were all hanging out at La Jolla Cove. But that I thought was a great place to kind of get a really good San Diego vibe, you know? And again, this is a Blitz Krieg. I mean, we were just stopping at only a few places and the clock's ticking. And, you know, I told my buddy he wanted to see sunset, and sunset was at 7:00. So I made dinner reservations at 6:45. I'll tell you where in a minute, but the clock was ticking. And so I had to make sure I got through all these places, you know, driving, navigating traffic. And we went to La Jolla Cove, and our next spot, we were thinking, where would we go? Well, we went up the hill, drove past UCSD, and then we stopped at the Torrey Pines Reserve, which I always think is a great place. I mean, just those magnificent cliffs, and, you know, it's just the sand, the color of the sand and the cliffs, I think is really special. So we went and checked all that out. And by the way, it was interesting that the Torrey pine that is there, you know, the Torrey pine trees that are there at the reserve, I was told that those trees only exist right there, right around, you know, the Torrey Pines area. But my buddy in Japan said that they have Torrey pine trees in Japan, but the pine cones are dramatically smaller. So he was like blown away by how big they were. And we started talking about it, and we were kind of comparing like a little bit of the Torrey pine tree and the bonsai tree in Japan. And that made for an interesting discussion. And so again, the clock's ticking, and we decided to finish it up at Jake's Del Mar, right there on Coast Boulevard, right? What is that, like 15th Street or so? And got there right on time, man. And we rolled in and had one of those tables facing the ocean and got to see the sun, you know, drop behind the horizon. And it really worked out perfect. And had a great dinner there. I always like that place. It's just got a cool San Diego vibe. It's not too formal, but it's really nice and a great place to bring friends and family that are from out of town. And then from there, they just went on their way northbound, and it was great. It was a really fun time. But I'm curious to hear from you. When you have family and friends that are from out of town that are visiting San Diego, well, where do you take them? You know, what are some of the places in San Diego that are important to you? I mean, this was my list. Top 7 places. I had about a half a day. I'm curious to know what some of your top places are in San Diego. I mean, we skipped, you know, some obvious places like, you know, SeaWorld and the zoo. We skipped. Oh, we I forgot to include it on the list. We went to Old Town first. And we included that because my buddy wanted to specifically see Old Town. But we didn't go to Coronado or the zoo or SeaWorld. I think we got in some pretty good spots. I mean, tell me what you think. I'm curious to learn, but this was our top 7 list. Actually, it should be 8 because I included Old Town. I forgot to add that to the list. But this was our list of visit in San Diego. So what do you think? What are some of your favorite spots in San Diego? Well,